you can have unlimited money and still be told you're not allowed to buy this car because this isn't just a Mercedes Maybach S680. This is a one-off machine built specifically for LeBron James. No second buyer, no second version, just one. And every detail, from the paint to the stitching, was designed around him, not the market, not the brand. Him, but here's where it gets even more insane. There's a second one, a twin. Built with the same design, not created for something completely different, not for flex, not for status, for charity, which means this isn't just a luxury car anymore. It's a statement of access, a level of influence where even the world's most exclusive brands don't just sell to you, they build for you. The moment you see this car in person, something feels different, not louder, not flashier, just more controlled. Because this isn't built to impress everyone, it's built to remind a few people that they're not even in the same league. At first glance, it still looks like a Maybach long body. Smooth lines, that signature presence. But the longer you look at it, the more you realize nothing about this is standard. The paint alone separates it immediately. It's not something you can select from a brochure, not something you'll find on another model parked next to it. It's deeper, richer, designed in a way that shifts under light, almost like the car changes personality depending on where you stand. And that's intentional, because at this level, color isn't just color. It's identity. Every angle of the car carries that same idea. Precision without effort, luxury without trying too hard. It doesn't scream for attention, it expects it. And that's where the difference begins. Move closer, and the details start revealing themselves. The finish isn't just clean, it's exact. Every line feels measured. Every surface feels like it was touched more than once. Before being approved, nothing looks rushed. Nothing looks mass-produced, because it isn't. Even the wheels feel different, not just in design, but in how they sit, balanced perfectly with the body, giving the car a stance that feels heavier, more grounded. And that stance matters, because presence starts before movement, but the real shift happens when you step inside. This is where it stops being a car. The interior doesn't feel like something you drive. It feels like something you step into. Soft lighting, perfect symmetry, materials that don't feel manufactured. Everything around you feels intentional. The stitching alone tells a story, not just about design, but about time. Because details like that don't come from speed, they come from patience. And patience is something you only see at this level. The seats don't just support you. They adapt position, comfort, temperature. Everything adjusts in a way that feels natural, like the car already knows what you need before you ask. And that's the point, because this isn't about features, it's about experience. Even the silence inside feels different, not empty, not quiet in a basic way. Controlled, like every outside sound was filtered intentionally, leaving only what matters. That's when it hits you. This car wasn't designed for the road, it was designed for the person inside it. And that changes everything, because once a car is built around a person, it stops being replaceable. There's no alternative, no upgrade, no comparison. And that's what makes it powerful. Every detail you see is specific. Every choice reflects something personal. Nothing is there just because it looks good. It's there because it means something. And that's why even the smallest elements feel elevated. The trim doesn't just shine, it blends. The lighting doesn't just glow, it shapes the space. The materials don't just exist, they respond. Everything works together, not to impress the outside world, but to create a space that feels unmatched from the inside. And that's the real shift, because most luxury cars are built to be seen. This one is built to be experienced. And once you understand that, everything else starts to feel incomplete, because now you're not comparing price, you're comparing intention. And intention is something you can't replicate easily. That's why cars like this don't exist in numbers. They exist in moments, in decisions, in relationships between the brand and the person it's built for. And that relationship shows up in every detail. From the way the door closes, to the way the cabin feels when you sit still. Nothing is accidental. Everything is chosen. And that's what separates this from every other Maybach on the road, because those are luxury. This is personal. And once something becomes personal, moves into a completely different category, a category where standard options don't exist, where duplication doesn't make sense, because it was never meant to be repeated. And that's what makes it rare. Not just the materials, not just the design, but the fact that everything about it was built for one name, and only one. And this is where the story changes, because what you're looking at isn't just a one-off. There's another version, built with the same foundation, the same design language, the same level of precision, but created for something completely different, not for status, not for presence, for purpose. A second car, a twin, but instead of sitting in a private garage, this one was meant to be seen, to be sold. Because this version wasn't built to stay, it was built to give, and that alone shifts the entire meaning of the project. Because now, this isn't just about exclusivity anymore. It's about influence, the ability to take something most people will never touch and turn it into something that creates impact. And that's a completely different level of power, because anyone can buy luxury, but very few people can redirect it, take something rare, and use it for something bigger than themselves. And that's exactly what happened here. The twin carries the same presence, the same identity. But when people look at it, they're not just seeing design, they're seeing intention. And that changes the reaction completely, because now car isn't just impressive. It's meaningful, and meaning lasts longer than flex. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Even though both cars share the same DNA, they don't feel the same. One represents control, the other represents impact. One stays hidden, the other moves, and that contrast is what makes the entire concept so powerful, because it shows something most people don't realize. At the highest level, luxury becomes a tool, not just something you own, something you use to express, to influence, to create something beyond yourself. And when that happens, value of the object changes completely, because now it's not about what it costs, it's about what it does. And that's why this project stands out, not just because it's rare, but because it carries two completely different meanings at the same time. One car defines personal identity, the other defines legacy, and very few people ever reach a point where they can do both. Because reaching this level requires more than money. It requires access, a relationship with the brand, a reputation that opens doors most people don't even know exist. Because at this stage, you're not asking for customization, you're being offered it. And that's a different kind of position entirely. Because now, you're not part of the market, you're part of the process. And when that happens, result isn't just a car. It's something that represents a moment, a specific time, a specific person, a specific purpose. And once that moment passes, it can't be recreated. That's what makes it truly one of one. Not just the build, but the context behind it. And that's why even years from now, this car won't just be remembered as a Maybach. It will be remembered as something that redefined what a luxury build can represent. Because it proved one thing clearly. At the highest level, luxury isn't about having more, it's about doing more with what you have. And once you understand that, everything else starts to feel smaller. Because now the question isn't, what can you buy? It's, what can you create, and how far can you take it? Because this level doesn't reward spending, it rewards vision. And that's what separates this from every other luxury car on the road. Not just how it looks, but what it represents. Because in the end, this isn't just about a car. It's about what happens when influence meets opportunity and turns into something that can't be repeated. If you think this is next level, wait until you see what happens when brands start building entire collections around a single name. Subscribe now, because the next level of luxury doesn't follow rules.